I want to introduce you to a friend of mine, actually a colleague, a neighbor, and a mentor, because she symbolizes so much of what I want to share with you.
Well, I think that by the garden being out here, it has brought neighbors together.
Woo! Living danger.
A lot of people didn't know one neighbor from another neighbor. But now everybody speak, everybody talk to one another, everybody is working together, and it helped to keep the street nice, quiet, and clean, drug-free. It look 100% better since we started working out here with the plants. And when I came out here, uh, it helped me mentally and physically. Well, before the garden got here, it was all grass. In the wintertime, it would be green. In the summertime, it would be tall weeds and what have you. If we had kept everything that we dug up, we would have had a statue, real tall. So all kinds of car parts, different kinds of furniture, fast food, papers, beer bottles, liquor bottles, syringes, name it, they were out here. So we have pretty much gotten all the broken glass and everything out here now. We got started by getting the flowers out of our yards, and we bring pieces out here, we break them apart and try to fill in. And different people would bring flowers by and they would set them out here in the yard. I set them over there where I live, and we set them out.
Well, that's Annette Young-Smith. She's just as sweet as she probably comes across on video in real life. And you saw a little bit of Bayview Hunters Point, which is a challenged neighborhood in San Francisco. That's where I live and work. I actually live on the block where Annette lived when she started with Carl Page, who is another community activist who died, unfortunately, several years ago, but is much revered still. The two of them started planting flowers on this urban median strip in a place that was ground zero for the drug trade. Was as bad a situation as you can imagine. Dangerous, low quality of life, and almost immediately after they started to plant flowers on this median strip, things started to change. Things have changed dramatically since then. We have built capacity around what they started to do. Everybody came out of their houses, out of their fear and isolation to join with one another. And what started as a few flowers on an urban median strip spread the length of that 650-foot median strip and has been replicated in projects clustered around the heart of Bayview. It's not just gardens, it's public art projects and history projects, cultural events, and the like. Really, I said I was a guy that was more about process than the end goal. This is a community building process. What Annette did was she took a place that looked like this. This was right outside my house, and turned it into this. And other projects that have been replicated. This was a public art project. This space is now used for outdoor film festivals and barbecues with volunteers and all sorts of purposes. It had been a place where people went to do their drugs. This was a weedy lot just up the hill from the Quesada Garden, and now it's a teaching and learning garden with a beautiful mural on the side. This is several blocks from the Quesada Garden. It was a notorious dumping spot for probably 30 years. The neighbors tried everything to clean it up, working with the city, working with criminal justice, and the police. It never worked. We planted just a funky little garden there, and it's become the sweetest thing that we've ever done. The kids love it. This is our Founders Memorial. You can see that Bayview is named for a reason. There are actually amazing views, and yet this is a neighborhood that feels like it's an appendage on the city of San Francisco that some folks would like to lop off at some point. And it's really one of the most friendly, charming, wonderful places you could imagine. And I recommend you come visit sometime. And this is a group picture, and I'm going to just stop on this image as I tell you a little more about what Annette and Carl and the other neighbors have done in Bayview. because it's a group process. They have done what computer techno wizards did decades ago: social networking, peer-to-peer networking, connecting people to one another and then connecting those groups to one another. That's what we have carried forward through the Quesada Gardens Initiative, and how that dovetails in a conversation, a larger conversation about interactivity in the digital age, I think is really interesting and really appropriate. We have developed a number of tools now. We are still producing the most cost-effective and sustainable social change in the neighborhood for practically no money. And a couple blocks away, million-dollar projects are failing right and left. They don't create the kind of change socially, culturally, that we've been able to change through community building strategies. Very basic, street-level advocacy and activism, knocking on doors, hanging signs over doorknobs, putting up posters in the laundromat. That's the kind of interactivity that we do. That's traditional community organizing. But I think that there's a lot for all of us to learn in terms of the development of technology, development of the digital future. And I want to offer just one example, a working example for us to talk about, and that's the digital kiosk. The digital kiosk, a kiosk is like what you would find in a park, right, where the map is and where there are flyers about what's going on there. There are very smart people who have incorporated digital technology into that kind of a kiosk. There was a World Bank Innovations Fair recently in South Africa where they unveiled one of these things as a disaster preparedness strategy. So in Uganda, actually, it's connected to Uganda, so that if, in the case of a disaster, there's a place that serves up-to-date information and a place where people can gather. This appeals to me, and I think is representative of how we can incorporate existing digital technology into community building strategies, right? It's a place-based strategy. It's an old world strategy because you can actually post things on it, those old leaflets that now go in the laundromat. You can place it where the people already are. You can incorporate local art, local history, local culture into the chassis of the thing and into the content. You can program it so it can handle user-generated content, so that people in the community, the people who live right around this place, are interacting with the kiosk. Now, from a community organizer standpoint, I'm not terribly hopeful that this is going to be an easy process getting to a kiosk in Bayview Hunters Point like this, and I want to tell you why. The typical process is a top-down process, right? We see this time and time again with government agencies coming in wanting to do something good, foundations or outside groups coming into a neighborhood wanting to create a more just environment. The intentions are always great, but the ideas were hatched in a conference room somewhere, not in the community. And that, for me, is a problem. And technologists, I think, understand this better than most, because the initial networks that we are all using were modeled after the physical world. And I think that entrepreneurs are really open to the idea of getting that end user into the conference room to start designing whatever the it is from the very beginning. And Annette would approve of that. And she would take it one step further. She would say, don't bring us into the conference room. Bring that process to the community and let us participate in it and let us define it. Let us figure out what it's going to look like in the end, and then we will be invested in it. One of the things that this video doesn't communicate is that this massive social change that has happened in the heart of a neighborhood where it wasn't supposed to ever happen, and where other programs have disappointed, was catalyzed by this woman who doesn't have email. She didn't have a Friendster account in the beginning. She doesn't have a Facebook page. She's not doing anything digital. The digital revolution is shaping her, is shaping the community that she lives in, and that is fundamentally disempowering. And it's not good for technology. It's not good for the growth of the potential. We love technological widgets that we can plug in to do what we need to do at the community level, but we would like to see communities start to shape technology more. What you also don't know is that Annette hugs everybody. Annette, I was giving a tour to a bunch of college students recently, about 50 of them, and Annette came by, and she had to hug everyone, and everyone loved it and got in line to get their hug. Completely derailed me. It took about 15 minutes for this to happen, but that's what all the students remembered when I talked to them later. That's what was meaningful to them. And I understand that because I get my hug from Annette every day, or I don't feel right about the world. It's very healing. So I want to suggest to us all, as we develop technology that's going to rule our lives in many ways, that in our place-based communities, we figure out ways to connect and to make sure that what comes out the end of the pipeline really reflects our needs. Stop by the Quezada Gardens sometime and get your hug from Annette. The hug is still a powerful thing, and in this world of amazing good ideas, I think a hug is still one of those good ideas. Thank you very much.